Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me again. It's TeaRon. That's TeaRon, period. And we are here for another episode of the Ubiquitous Blacks podcast, a podcast where I try to sit down with Black people across the diaspora, connect and have conversations, and celebrate all those differences and similarities that we share. And for some reason, y'all, I can't seem to stay out of South Africa. We're going to go there again today, but this time we're going to go there with a new friend of mine. Someone who I'm really just starting to get to know, who has intrigued me already, and I want to see where this conversation goes. I don't want to give too much pretense and too much pressure on this thing. But if you could see, I'm going to try this out, and he'll correct me if he needs to. If you could, Kagiso. See that's wrong. Gis.
Yeah,
Introduce
you.
yourself, brother. Tell the people who
Yeah.
you are, where you're from,
All right,
and what
thank
it
you so
is
much.
you do.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Ashley, for really just having me. I think I should put that out there firstly. But yeah, it's Kagiso, you know. Um,
Kagiso.
yeah, Kagiso, perfect. You see,
Hey.
you're the fast learner. Yeah, Kagiso, and that means peace, by the way. I think it's necessary for me to
What
put that out
language
there.
is that?
Setswana. I'm actually
Okay.
Setswana. Well, I don't think it's called Setswanian. So yeah, I am Setswana from Northwest,
Yes,
I guess.
yes. See,
Yeah.
I know that there's like 346 languages people speak on just every day.
What she
So
said in South Africa, 346? No way. Only 11 in
it
South.
sounds like that to my ear. You should see me watching these movies. I say, oh God, let me turn these subtitles on ASAP, bro.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Let the people know where you're from and what you do. I'm sorry.
All right. So like I said, well, not like I said, but I love, brother. I love to tell a story. I love to explain really just how effective and necessary it is to be a part of this world, really just as a human. I don't really want to explain myself as an individual that needs to be sold. So yes, I am a Black individual from South Africa. I'm 21 years old. Um, and yeah, I have big ideas, I guess. I have big plans to change the world, to prosper, and to give a lot of people, just good ideas. I sell people ideas. I give people philosophical, I guess, standpoints and views on how to imagine, be a part of what makes sense in life.
Planting seeds and watching them grow.
Exactly, Rastafari, Rastafari. Yeah.
So tell the people one interesting thing about yourself, whatever that is.
Okay. Good question. Well, I'm a vegetarian, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know if that's interesting. Yeah, but I don't eat meat. Yeah, I just stopped. I just like abstained from that because, like I said, just 2 seconds ago, I'm a Rastafarian. I represent that man. I don't know if you can see him, but there's a portrait of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, the Rastafarian God. So yeah, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. I think that's interesting enough. I don't know if like what
I
type of
I think it
are you
is.
on?
I think it's
Yeah,
very interesting. So
okay.
would you, so vegetarian or vegan?
Vegetarian. Yeah, let
Vegetarian.
me be exact with that because there is a difference. There's a big difference. Vegan is very extreme, and I think I need to establish myself, be independent to be completely vegan, I guess,
I was
because
vegan once.
okay.
I was vegan like I want to say two, not even a full 48 hours, and it was very
Yeah. I understand.
it was very hard because when you're an actual have you see now I'm all over the place. Have you see these raw food vegans? Have you seen these people?
The what?
Raw food vegans, just like
Right.
raw vegans. That's all they eat.
Well,
They don't cook anything. Have you seen
yeah.
this?
I don't think I've seen that, but I know vegans. Like I know like the general term vegan and what that diet requires, like in
Brother,
cases.
I have to tell you, I wish I had the clip pulled up. I have to tell you,
Yeah.
there is this story. It came out some years back, and it is a husband and wife.
Okay.
The wife, they're in their 70s, by the way, and the wife, she's a raw food vegan, meaning she, eats directly from her garden. Nothing's cooked and prepared. It's just like eating fresh fruit, fresh veggies, that kind of thing, right? And
Beautiful.
I think she like will have like nuts and stuff like that for protein, but nothing is cooked, right?
Mm.
And it was so funny because in that story, she was into her health and her fitness, and her husband, who she'd been married to, they would go to the store. I'm gonna have to send you this clip, so remind me after we're done. But they would go
Will
to the
do.
store, and people would say, oh, is that your dad? Because even though they were both in their 70s, she looked drastically more useful than he did. This man, big belly, he didn't do the same diet as her, right?
Oh,
Big belly, his hair was fully gray. He was
right.
practically wheelchair bound. Oh, it was so bad. And she'd
Yeah.
have to tell people all the time, "That's my husband." And she's like, just youthful. You can't even really find a wrinkle on this lady.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. No.
wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. When did you I'm assuming that it hasn't always been a present or constant in your life. When did you start to lean into the Rastafari lifestyle?
Well,
Well,
this
do they
was
refer to it as a lifestyle? I don't want to get that wrong.
it's way of life. Yeah, I think you
Okay.
did not get that wrong. Well, yeah, the way of life really is just, I guess, it resonated very much also with my name, Kagiso. This peace thing. There's this obsession I have for peace, right? And the minute I introduced myself to Jah, to Selassie, I realized that, these are my people. These are the type of people that I feel like um will connect the world,
Hmm.
connect the the black race or the black individual, make him or her understand the process of having to be an African, because I believe that all black people, stem from Africa, right? So yes, this began 2020, I think. Well, not to say I think. 2022, I became vegetarian. 2020, I started seeing things differently. My life changed. This was during COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a beautiful
that's
time.
that'll do it. A pandemic will
Yeah,
definitely change
sure.
the
You
course
know,
of people's life.
exactly.
But what was happening at the time that triggered it for you? Do you feel like you were on a completely different path than you are now? Do you feel better for it?
Course. I feel like it has everything to do with how I've developed,
Hmm.
because I just realized that the minute you decide to alter your soul, there are physical things that happen to you as well. For instance, like things don't taste the same anymore. Like the soul begins to speak to the body. You understand? And so when that happens, well, I mean, even my voice changed. I mean, for some odd reason, like there's this one question that I cannot seem to explain to the people.
Uh huh.
Why do you say, and it's really hard to like explain because I see it as the process of my enlightenment. Like there is a vocabulary that was reached due to me having to be, becoming, a part of this unified love, this unified love and understanding and peace, you could say. So yes, that really just altered the soul, altered the physical realm, which is my realm, which is the way I live my life right now. And so ever since then, it's just been, constant and consistent growth
Yeah.
and satisfaction.
So were you led to it through like mentors, or was this just something that you studied on your own and then you gradually got into it? How what was that?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I started really just questioning many things, like I really just began, I mean, during COVID, right? Like I think
Hmm.
everyone really just had this, excuse me, this this big question in their head, like, what the F is going on? Like, what is life? Like, now we have to be in the house telling us about wearing masks and all that. We have to be social distancing or whatever the case is. So I began to realize that, okay, because life is, taking this stance, life is changing in this way, like,
Yeah.
what else lives that we do not pay attention to? So I began looking at trees. I began looking at butterflies. And I was like, man, are you aware of COVID? This butterfly literally just flew past me. And I'm like, like you have no care in the world. It's such a beautiful thing to see. And so yeah, I just connected with nature in a very effective way. And then I started obviously getting into the greater understanding of it through watching YouTube and getting introduced to Rastafari.
And so and it spoke to you. It's so interesting too. With nature, when you do get a chance to like really take it in, and I'm always envious of animals in the wild,
Yeah.
and maybe not for the same reasons as you. I more so look at them like sometimes I'll watch a documentary, and like I love documentaries about like elephants. I don't know why I love those.
Mhm.
Right? They're
Yeah.
so human in the way that they socialize and things that they do. Right? And I watch those often. I watch all kinds, but when I watch it, I literally have this one thought in my mind, and that is, I'm like, wow, they don't have to pay bills. I I'm
Yeah.
so I'm so envious. I tell people all the time too. I really think that like certain primates, I do feel like they can speak. I think they're just smart enough not to
Yeah.
speak in front of us so that they don't have to pay bills.
I love that. That is such a beautiful point. That is interesting. That is very interesting.
you
But
know, the
there's
amount of
language that is,
freedom you have. Think about it. When you're a kid, you were
yeah.
saying that you were looking at nature and you were watching the butterflies. When you're a kid, you are that, right? When you don't have to abide by so many rules, or everything is still new and fresh to you and still exciting to you, you are that butterfly. But at some point, we stop being that. And I know that people who go and lean into this Rastafari lifestyle are doing so with the idea of not losing that um that natural curiosity, and that natural like hunger for life, you know what I mean?
Come on,
And
come
I
on.
think that when we just like go through life living, trying to, be controlled by all these different ideas and rules and um segments of society, and being categorized into different spaces, and currently in our time, how people identify is a huge um conversation, right? It's very
Come on.
important to people to identify how they wish, but also to not be boxing at the same time, which is almost like a contradiction on itself. but but I don't know. I just find it to be just really really interesting how we navigate through those things. Let me ask you this: when growing up, were you an only child, or did you have like siblings? What was that like?
Yeah, well, I have siblings. I have a
Hmm.
sister and I have a brother. Yeah. I actually have a late brother as well. I should put that out there.
Okay.
That is, yeah, that
S-
is true.
where do you come in? Are you the eldest?
I am the youngest baby boy you
Ah,
can ever
welcome.
imagine.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
club.
Yeah. I'm the youngest brother. Oh, you have siblings as well? That's interesting. How many siblings do you have?
I'm the youngest of 5. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. There's these perks. There's these real life perks to being the youngest. I don't. I wouldn't give them up.
Yeah, sure. But we have all these privileges, don't we?
you know, uh, I wouldn't say I'm spoiled, but you know, I love my
Yeah,
mom, and
beautiful.
And I know that if I really needed something, I know that she will have my back. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah, of
know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what
course,
I'm
of
talking about.
course. That's their job. They do protect the youngest of the pride, and yeah, that's a beautiful
Yeah, I
thing.
wouldn't trade it. I would definitely wouldn't want to be the middle. That's whack. That's the wackest
Yeah,
thing
it is.
ever. Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
long as there's unity, so long as everyone really just understands the role they need to play in the
yeah,
family.
everyone has their role to play. But
Yeah.
what was it like for you growing up? So I'm sorry, what city are you in?
All right. So I'm currently in Pretoria.
Okay.
I
Have you
grew up
always
in Johann.
lived there?
No, I grew up in Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
what was what was it like in Johannesburg? So you were I'm doing the math here. So you were born in 2005? Damn, am I doing math right?
no, no.
Where am I
I think my girlfriend was born in 2005, wasn't she? I don't know.
when were you
No,
born?
2003. 2003.
Okay. You know, by the
Yeah.
time by 2003, I had a whole personality. Like I was living.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
tell me about the time growing up though. What you remember of it? What was it like? Sort of paint a picture for those of us who may not know.
yeah. Right. So growing up, really, I must say, I grew up one of the privileged ones. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I guess you could say, even in Africa, there are dynamics of power,
Mhm.
and that also exists in the black communities. You get your middle class, high class, lower class. Black individuals living um in Africa.
Yeah.
So yes, I had it all, brother. I still have it all, I guess you could say, I'm very privileged. I have a roof under my head. And yeah, my dad and my mom really just raised us in a very structural way. The most important thing really was education,
Yeah.
being having to have a certain level of intellect. That's why many of the conversations I choose to have with most people really it's all about what can we do, what is it that can work, what is it that is beneficial, in terms of like in an intellectual way, in a perspective that is beneficial through mind. All right, so yes, I was just that kid, always curious. I was very curious from a young age. Apparently I used to read newspapers at like 3 or 4. I would just look at the paper, and because my dad used to do that, so I would just like imitate him and just like look at newspapers and stuff. And yeah, that was just the side of me that chose to thrive and to be what it is currently. I guess that's all I focus on: intelligence, peace, and love.
There's something interesting that you just did as you were um explaining that and answering that question. And that is you this is something that takes a level of reflecting and maturity that not a lot of people do. Do you know what you did?
So what's that?
I said, do you know what you did when you were just explaining that?
I told my story. I think that's what I did.
The specific thing that stood out to me is that you acknowledged a level of privilege that you feel like you had.
Yeah.
That is not something that a lot of people can do. It it takes a bit of being able to look at oneself and say, it ain't that bad.
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
I don't even know if you notice that you did that, but I know that there are a lot of times people in um privileged scenarios or born into situations where they have a few more perks than others and they don't
Yeah.
have the ability to see outside of that enough to acknowledge it. So it's interesting
Mm.
that you that you even mentioned it.
Well, thank you for that. But it's just really, it is the truth. You know, I will never come here and say things that
Hmm.
do not represent who I am. You know, I mean, that is disrespecting my past, that is disrespecting my present, and it has the potential as well to disrespect my future. So whatever it is that I say here is real, it's authentic. You know,
Yeah,
if this is the color, then this is the color. You know, that's what I believe. That's what I understand. That's who I am.
stand in it. That's what I
Of course.
say.
Yeah.
so
You know,
so now you're so you what at what age did you go to Pretoria?
that was when I was 19.
Okay,
19.
so
Yeah, like two
yesterday.
years ago. Yeah, basically. Not just because of school, you know, I just had to come here because like, you know, I'll be studying and stuff,
Hmm.
you know. Yeah, I'll be living that life sometimes.
So you're currently studying in Pretoria. Do you
Yes,
want
sir.
to get into what it is you are get what you're studying, what you're into?
Well, I study robotics in a private institution, and I guess it is the it is the balance of my life, you know, because imagine this, you know, this kid who is natural, this natural, that, organic, this organic, that, cultural, this cultural, that, you know, and then um, I am also balancing it with studying the most innovative thing, I guess you could say, that our current generation is experiencing, which is artificial intelligence. So, to a certain extent, really, is just that's my yin and yang, you know, because yes, it is important that we understand exactly where we're going
Yeah.
and also just balance that with where we come from, you know. So the Rastafarianism in me really just represents the past and, you know, just being an African and embracing the fact that I'm an African. And then, yeah, I guess Babylon or society at large really just is focusing on the future, which is what is happening with technology and all of that. So I choose also to participate in that evolution. It's necessary.
Robotics.
Robotics.
How did you get into robotics? Now I will say this.
Yeah,
This all it's all tying in now. I will say this. To me, to me, number one, before I even say that, number one, we need more black people in these fields.
course,
Fully. Fully
of course.
need more black people coding, need more black people uh learning AI, learning how to do all these things, right?
Yeah.
So I don't undervalue that at all. I definitely don't think there's enough of us, interested.
Mm.
But also, I feel like when you think of robotics, at least when I think of it, that is a very privileged avenue to go down.
Yeah, exactly. You
you
know, it
you
goes back to the
know,
privilege I mentioned.
say it again, I'm sorry.
It goes back to what I mentioned that, you know, I do come from a family that is privileged and I was able to actually even, you know, infiltrate such a very interesting thing to study. You know, I mean, like
How
it's
did
not
you
easy to study as
how did you
well.
get into robotics? Like how did you know you were into something like that enough to go further in study it? Because for me, I would say you ever see the you
Mm.
ever see those I don't even know if they still do these things, but the robot battles. You ever see these like arena
Yeah,
you ever see
yeah,
those
I
things?
do.
And the
Do the
students will
bots.
come together and they'll build a
Yeah,
robot and they go and destroy each other.
exactly. Yeah,
Like to me, that's like an adolescence like a spark. It's like, oh, what is that? And then you learn
yeah,
how the things work, and you get into those things. But
yeah.
what was the path for you? Did it start in that same kind of genre of interest, or what was it?
Yeah, well, I'm very much interested in space travel, and
Yeah.
some reason, for some reason, you know, like artificial intelligence is very, very capable of making space travel a lot more easier, you know, from my
Mm-hmm.
perspective, you know, because according to physics, right, there's technology is advancing in a way that it will have to be implemented within physics, right?
Yes.
So, for instance, like black holes and wormholes and all these different, jargons of like science or whatever, they cannot neglect the fact that, there's this baby, and this baby is technology that is growing, and with the growth of technology, just my interest really in robotics was because of how I would like, I guess, to alter science and physics and see how best we can create, like flying cars and
Mhm.
things that have everything to do with, just having an advanced civilization, So I guess that was the genius that was sparked in me to really just have a liking for robotics and artificial intelligence. But yeah, it is not easy. I must put that out there. It
I'm
is
sure,
something.
yeah. It
Yeah,
it's a lot of math, a lot of
yeah, a lot of math. You
I
know.
always say if I feel like if I had the privilege of like exploring different options, I'd probably
Yeah,
be into like astrophysics or something for sure. For
astrophysics. Yeah,
sure.
actually wanted to do that,
But
but I didn't qualify.
you know,
Yeah,
that's a whole other realm. But it I think that's amazing. Like
yeah,
enough of there's not enough of us that really get to look up at the sky and wonder and try to put things into effect. And
mm,
I really hope that whatever is happening as you go and you're studying this, I really do hope that you stick it out as long as you can and really sink your teeth into it, because it's one of those things that you may not even realize it, but you could very well be inspiring someone behind you to do the same thing that may not even know it was an option before, you know?
yeah,
And I don't know how it is for you, or how people don't want to put that kind of pressure on themselves, but it just happens naturally, right?
of
You don't want to be doing it for, the sake of people potentially looking up to you. You don't want that. But I think that when you really lean into it, especially when you're exceptional, that it just comes with the territory. People be like, "You do what?"
yeah. You rubbing shoulders with some people, won't you? That is true.
there's only like, I forget the number. There's an exact number, but there's only
Mm.
so many players in the NBA, and all of us can't be there. So at some point you'd be like, dang,
Yeah,
and then a lot of us at one point you'd be like, I don't think I can rap. So there's that.
yeah,
You
exactly.
really got to spread it. You
That's
really
true.
got to expand your horizons. And I, this is my first time hearing that you're into this kind of thing, and I think that that is quite intriguing. I honestly would really nerd out with you right now, but I don't know if we have the time for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being interested in that. As a black man, being interested in things that have everything to do with, just developing, like we must be a part of what is next. Like, yes, previously we were incapable because we were, physically trapped, but
Mhm.
let's not trap our minds, like let's use the mind really to expand. There's no need for us all to be flooding the NBA or being rappers. If that's what you want to do, that's if that's what you want to do, then that's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful, sister. Just do it because you love it, and that's exactly how you feel. You will impact the world, then why not?
It's funny. I have a I have a nephew who, when he was younger, you would never would have thought that he end up being like 6'5", you know,
Yeah,
doing this thing, right? And
yeah,
growing as he was growing up, I was like, this kid is hilarious. He is freaking funny as I ain't gonna cuss because
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to cuss in. I don't know what Rastafari. But
Right. Right.
um, I was like, he could easily, you know, do something comedic, right?
Mm.
But I, again, like you see these things in people doesn't necessarily mean they see them in themselves or see the options. But as he
Yeah.
got taller, people around him insisted, whether consciously or subconsciously, that he start playing basketball in school.
Mm.
And I don't think that that was because you can do multiple things. I don't think that that was the extent of his potential. Granted, he's got height. He's a good player, but
Yeah.
I was like, you don't have to be boxed in like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was like, damn. If he had just been a little shorter, I think that people wouldn't even have mentioned
Yeah.
it
Sure.
and put it in his mind like play ball, play. Because like I said, there's only so many of us that can get through the door in that way. You know, people often get like percentages wrong. I know you probably see this a lot where
Yeah.
people would get like statistics wrong and they'll say, there's this many, black people playing this sport and making this kind of money, but the real
Yeah.
percentage is small for the amount. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, but if there's only 300 players in the whole fucking like league, that's nothing. And so there's other stuff for us to do. Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
what is your outlook? Because when people think of Rastafari culture, they immediately go to Jamaica, of course, right? You know.
Yeah.
So there are connections and outside influences everywhere. What is your view of black people in other countries? How do you perceive it? What are you interested in? What are you inspired by? Whether growing up or even presently, who are some
Mhm.
people that that intrigue you in that way? And you and because we already mentioned Rasta, you can't say Bob Marley.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That's a good point. Well, I'm actually gonna put this out there.
Hmm.
He's actually the guy that I was able to locate ubiquitous blacks with, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
He's a ninja, black ninja. His name is Annalisa, you know. I met this man. I think he also follows you, like you guys follow each other.
Hmm.
Because yeah, how I actually got into understanding or just having the knowledge of ubiquitous blacks because he was following you, right?
Yeah.
So yes, he's an exceptional mind. He has an exceptional mind, you know, and he is ambidextrous and like there's just so like he's the craziest black person that I've ever okay, I can't say ever, but interaction I had with him, you know, and I've met him only once, you know,
Hmm.
that was energy. Like, you know, it's like being in an anime film, like when this person really just walks in the room like I could feel his presence on a higher plane, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's one person that really, 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 really inspires me. I don't even think he knows this, but yeah, I
He
really
will.
just
He
like
will now.
yeah,
I,
yeah, you know,
that's one person. For me, I always have my radar on, right? And when
yeah,
there are people who like I get immediate, I'm just like, I've been trying to pluck his brain for a while. I'm telling you, it will happen.
yeah.
But
He exceptional. Like, can I tell you? And I didn't even get this information from him because we never really even spoke. There was a time when we were together and
Mhm,
like we just had a knowledge cipher. Like it was a moment where just four black individuals having a conversation. But he was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and then I was having a conversation with his friend. So I never really got to actually even. I never really deciphered his mind, you know, from the perspective of an interaction like face to face, whatever, you know. It was just an energetic thing, you know, like
yeah.
he was doing things while we were speaking that were very, very interesting. Like he was holding a pen, like he was doing this with the pen. I don't know if that, you know. So I could feel this, and I didn't even see it, but like I'm like, how is this person doing this? Like for God knows, like he could probably even fly or
So
whatever,
so for those of you listening and not watching,
Yeah,
it's when you have a pen in hand and you're like rotating it through your fingers, but it's not falling.
yeah,
I'm not even gonna attempt it. I have a pen right here, but I'm not gonna attempt it. 'Cause-
yeah. No, that mine is great. He has an
that's interesting
exceptional.
too because it also speaks to your own like awareness, because if you're picking up on people's like physical cues
Yeah,
and just when they're around it, that's again a way of like you have to like pull back, be less self-absorbed, and become like
mhm.
aware of your surroundings. You're really doing the things, you know that?
Thank you. I really
Because
appreciate
I'm
that. I'm
at this
actually,
big age now and I'm like doing this stuff, but you're already doing the stuff.
thank you,
Shut
sir.
up.
I really appreciate that. I'm my best. It's not. I guess it is what it is. Thank you. Appreciate
So
that.
one thing that
Gratitude.
we try to talk about here, um, that a lot of people like the topic of, and that is travel. Okay. My
Okay.
question to you that I ask a lot of guests is, what's the furthest place you've ever traveled?
Good question. I actually went to China once. Well, twice actually.
Really?
Yeah, I've been to China. Well, I was in Dubai, but like that was just like a connecting flight. So we just were there
But
because
that don't count.
what's that? Yeah, okay, yeah. So basically, let's just scratch that out then. But yeah, China, um, and just a lot of the neighboring countries here in Africa. I've been to Namibia, I've been to Botswana, I've been to Zimbabwe, I've been to Malawi, Namibia. Namibia is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Privileged boy. That is
I think it's
what okay, China. Talk to me. Were you going to China to do robotics?
well. It's, it's interesting you ask because that was the initial plan. The plan was to
Really?
actually to study in China. Yeah, I wanted to study in China, but then that's when COVID hit its peak.
Hmm.
So, everything had to change. I had to be dynamic with how I choose to, navigate my future. So, yeah, we just went to China really to explore and
What's
yeah,
what
those as
city
well.
did you go to?
Guangzhou, Guangzhou.
What was it
Yeah,
like?
that's.
How old were you as well too? How long ago was this?
This was 2019.
Okay,
So
so yesterday.
yeah, you could say, you know.
What was it like? Do you
Growing up,
remember it vividly?
yeah, actually there were a lot of Africans there. I saw a lot of Nigerians.
Yeah, I knew you were
Brothers. Yeah, no, peace to my brothers, man. They find themselves everywhere. I really love how they can not shape shift, but teleport. Like they teleport in different places. Like
Oh
they're
God.
literally in every country.
Oh
You
God.
know,
That's
Nigerians,
hilarious.
Nigerians are good. Nigerians are good. So yeah, they were there, and yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. I love China.
That's so funny. Like, did you see that post where it was the Nigerian family that had they were the first black Africans to climb this mountaintop? Did you see this?
I didn't see it. You should send it to me.
I'm about to find it. It was recently too. I
Yeah,
saw it, and then-
is it?
and then the comments were like, if Nigerians aren't there, it's not fun. It's no good time.
Yeah, it's
Yo,
true.
I
They're
read
everywhere.
somewhere that you would every at least every person in their life will like meet a Nigerian because
Yeah, yeah,
there's
it's
some there's
true.
something there's something about the country itself. And I don't and here's the
Mm,
truth. The truth is I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing when I say this,
mm,
okay? So I'm not saying whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. That's not my place. So, go with what you feel. But
That's
there's
okay.
something about the country where there's this constant mindset of having like a exit strategy,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And it's the driving force of people going other places. Now,
Mm,
people could argue, is that a good thing? But
mm.
I honestly, and this is just my experience. I know a lot of Nigerians, and
Yeah,
I've never met any who are still presently living in Nigeria who do not have desires to go somewhere else.
yeah. And that's such a good observation, because I don't even think I thought of it like that. But I guess it has to do with well, I don't know what it has to do with, I could be lying to you,
It's
but
the economy, yo.
yeah, probably it is the economy, probably just politics, I mean, you see with Africa, there's always been this idea or this stigma that there's a better place outside of this your country. Like Africa believes, well, most Africans have this idea that, what, the Hollywood, what is it? Europe or
Mhm.
whatever, and they really do instill this mindset on us because it's like mind program, it's like they control our minds through really just making us see everything that is not um everything that is not Africa,
I
like
hear you.
we have these TVs that just show us all these big buildings in America, these big buildings in Switzerland, the Netherlands, whatever the case is, right? And then the African looks and says, I am getting out of here and I'm going to get money or whatever the case is, and I'm going to go and live there, So yeah, it is. I don't like that idea as well, because
I don't
Africa is,
either. I don't either. Personally, I just don't. Let me ask you,
yeah,
what's what's one place that you've always wanted to visit yourself?
Ethiopia.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
Ethiopia.
Why?
Well, because the tomb of Selassie and Menenin, which is
Hold
his,
on. Wait a minute now. I ain't gonna cut you off, but I like your answer and I'm gonna let you finish. But let
okay,
me rephrase the question.
that's okay.
What,
Visa.
what's before
Mhm.
you got to this point where you're embracing the Rastafari culture and so on?
Yeah,
What was the place you always wanted to visit then? Just growing up, hearing about places, what intrigued you
yeah.
then?
Paris.
Okay, okay, okay. What about it do you think?
Well, I love Paris. It's a city of love, and
And
it's
bed
beautiful.
bugs.
Appa- Apparently, like it's dirty and whatever the case is. I
Have you
heard.
been?
I've
Have
never
you been to
been.
Paris?
No.
Yo, rude,
Is it that
rude.
bad? For real?
People don't realize like Paris is a metropolitan city. It's a major city, and
Yeah,
every major city, there are shared traits amongst how people operate in major cities, right?
yeah, yeah,
So any major city you go to in the world, maybe aside from like places like Dubai where there are very strict rules, but any place you go in the
yeah.
world, people are in a hurry, rude
Mm,
attitudes. Don't they
yeah.
think about it like
Very
this? I
places.
and I'm hitting you with all these perspectives. You're gonna start thinking about stuff in this way. I always do.
Yeah,
I always see stuff
I
like
love,
this. But
I love that.
I've never met someone from New York City who
Mhm.
did not have a air of arrogance about them. And it's not even their fault.
Mm,
Imagine growing up in a city where everywhere you go throughout your life, everywhere's a landmark.
yeah,
Everybody wants to be there. Every culture is there, right? It really makes you feel so when a person from New York goes to another state, they'll go down
yeah,
south or something, they really feel like I'm from New York. What do you mean, right?
Exactly. Yeah, got
That
that ego.
mindset, nobody does it on that level. Like New York is the one. New Yorkers are a their own breed of person. But every other major city globally has that same mentality of like, me, I live in Paris.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
Like, what do you mean? You can't say anything to me, right? And so, yeah, I was surprised at how urban. Let's use that. I just was surprised, because you read the books, and then you get surprised. This is not to discourage anyone from going, by the way. So
Have you been in
yeah,
Paris?
huh?
Have you been in Paris?
Yeah. I've been all over, but how underwhelming the Eiffel Tower can be, especially if you happen to go and for some reason they don't even turn the lights on. That them lights ain't always on. It's
Oh, for real?
very under, and
That's
you be like,
crazy.
this ain't even that big.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I
I
know.
you
That's
but
interesting.
I saw, and then I think I'll say like I went to Las Vegas and they got the the Eiffel Tower there and it's
Yeah,
always lit up. So,
yeah. Interesting.
I
Yeah,
don't,
but I still want to go though.
how did we get there? I'm sorry. But okay, so Paris is the one, City of
Yeah.
Love. It the stories you heard or was it a movie? Was it music? What was do you recall?
That's just the vibe really, because I know there's a lot of black folks in France.
A
And
lot of magic.
yeah, Nigerians really do migrate everywhere, don't they? But yeah, like it's really just a city of love. It's beautiful. I love how, the culture that is
Mhm.
surrounded in Paris, like yeah, it was just that, it
Yeah.
was it was just that interesting for me. I really love that. I love that
Okay.
about it.
And then
Yeah,
getting back to present day,
yeah.
Kagiso. Ka, ka, ka,
Kagiso.
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 Ka. So, okay, hold on, wait a minute now. Before, shut up. Kagiso.
Yeah,
Kagiso.
Kagiso.
He,
Like
ka,
ka.
Kagiso.
Ka. Not like ka.
Damn
Ka.
it.
Kagiso.
Before we
I feel like
close, I'm
it's a
gonna
fun.
get this. But present day,
Don't worry about it though.
you you embrace a new culture and
Yeah.
now you're aware of Ethiopia. I thought I'm gonna be honest with you. When you first said Ethiopia, I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, you see the women." But that's what I thought you were gonna say. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
let me not thrust my thoughts onto you. But now
Yeah.
that you're aware of it, it's a place that has intrigued you and that you do want to visit. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, Ethiopia really is His Majesty's dwelling. Yeah, of course. So yeah, it's His Majesty's dwelling, and that is where his tomb is located. Him and his queen, Menenin Asfo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But the idea of really just being in Ethiopia is the idea of being a part of the origin of life, really, because I believe that that is where everything began. Ethiopia is Kush. It's the heartbeat of Africa, and that's what really the Rastafarian has um, really obsessed over.
Yeah,
And so there's also a place that is really just designated for Rastafarians. Any Rastafarian that wants to go to Ethiopia has a place to live in, like free of charge or whatever
what?
the case.
Hold on, wait. You sparked my
Yeah,
interest. You sparked
it's
my
true.
interest.
Well,
Where
that's
what is it?
awesome.
Is it a commune? What are we talking about? What's free of charge?
It is like, I guess you could say, an area. It's called Shashimani, right? And there's this idea that Rastafarians have of repatriation, which is getting all Black people from everywhere, really, the diaspora from America or whatever the case is. If you were wrongfully, taken away from your continent, due to slavery or whatever the case is, you have the privilege to come back to Africa if you do want to do that, and there's this place in Ethiopia that His Emperor Haile Selassie really just designated and set up for those who would like to repatriate. Yeah, it's part of the repatriation process of the African man and woman.
What are you saying? You're saying re what?
Repatriation.
Huh. And
Yeah.
but you said something was free.
Yeah, it is, because we will never say no to an African wanting to live in Africa.
Yeah.
So the idea of repatriation really is to because of the transatlantic slave trade and really just the dispositioning of the African man and the African woman. There's this idea that we as Rastafarians have instilled in our mind and in our philosophy. And the idea is repatriation, which is getting our black, beautiful people back to Africa so that we can come here and work on this place, deal with poverty. If we need to deal with poverty, of course we need to deal with poverty.
Yeah.
We deal with the economy, we deal with the structure and the idea of how to raise a family, live off the land. We really just crumble Babylon. We call the cities and all these big places with big buildings Babylon. And Babylon is really not the place for an African. And an African belongs in, in nature, and on a mountain or whatever. Um, so that's the perception we have.
Yeah, I'm gonna write this down because I like free stuff. But
Yeah, beautiful, man.
what
Anyone
would
can
you
get.
say what would you say in your opinion is the biggest misconception of Rastafari culture as you understand it thus far?
Well,
And I guess
the
hold on,
ganja.
I'm sorry. Let me add to that. What would you say since you've embraced this and you have been studying it and abiding by this lifestyle? What would you also say that others around you have a misconception of, or that you run into personally?
Yeah. Well, I would say the ganja, the.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people really just they view Rastafarianism as just a way to, I guess, um, what's the word?
Smoke weed.
Smoke weed, right? Yeah, they just really just make it seem as if that's the idea of being a Rasta. You grow your hair so that you look attractive to the dealer. The dealer will like literally be able to even point you out and say, I know what you're looking for, or whatever. So that is not the case. I mean, I don't smoke weed. Well, not like that. I don't. But that's a herb, and I'm proud of that herb because mind opens many people's minds, but I don't depend on it.
Right.
That's not the idea of Rastafarianism. Rastafarianism is a way of life. It is a teaching really to understand mind, body, and soul, and reconnect really with God nature, and not the colonizer nature, because I feel like that's what we have adapted to the colonizer nature. The colonizer nature is really having no clue of what you're doing here on planet Earth. If they say, what do? You have to explain like you got here with that plan. I mean, when you were born, you never knew that you were going to be whatever the case is. You never knew you were going to be working in McDonald's, or you never knew you were going to be working as a CEO, or whatever the case is. So like the real point of life really is just to be here and witness what God has created and be part of that creation and embrace it and fall in love with that. And that's what the Rastafarian individual tries to express and put out there for the people to understand. And also it just deletes depression. I
Yeah.
don't get depressed. No, it's not. It's hard for me to get depressed, because I understand that. I mean, there's nothing to be depressed about. I can breathe,
Hmm.
and I can think of my breath. The most important thing really is to think of the things that you can do. I can do this with my fingers. That's such an exceptional thing. My mind is telling my fingers to do this, you know. So really that, just focus on that, the that philosophy, that understanding of, my friend, you are a human being and you can breathe and you have food in your stomach.
I got too much food in my stomach.
That's a good thing. You should have no issues.
I'm trying to reduce. What would you say? What would you say is, because we know that we're not trying to box you in or um,
Yeah.
sum you up totally. But what would you say moving forward, near future, near being 4 to 5 years? What would you say you hope to accomplish in that time frame? Not what you want to be doing, just what do you hope to accomplish, personally, or better yet, how do you want to be, and this may even be a wrong question, but how do you want to be perceived by them, if that
Mm,
makes sense?
it does. Well, I guess I just want to teach and be a beacon for positive positive understandings,
Mhm.
be a beacon for positive understandings, like I don't want to be a person that you will want to speak to and think that, oh man, this guy is depressing or this guy is full of anger or whatever, like there's there's this importance of walking in a room and people really just perceiving you as God or as Christ or whatever the case is. Human beings can reach that point, but it has everything to do with your ability to love. How well do you love? How well is your mind? So if ever I can affect people like that, even if I'm not with you or next to you, my energy really just travels and you can feel me, from a very far place or whatever, like that telepathic thing.
Yeah.
Bob Marley once said, the revolution will be telepathic. And I believe in that. I believe that this dimension, this third dimension, it's beautiful, it's nice, it has everything to do with materials or whatnot. But there is energy that exists and it exists in higher dimensions. And if ever a human being chooses to lift oneself up from that, you will start to see the similarities with Christ. You would think you are Christ in return. Like you will personally feel like you are Jesus, because Jesus really was just an individual that heightened his understanding of life through love and peace and all the good stuff.
Yeah, I think very highly of myself too. I,
Good,
I I walk around like I'm big shit. I really do. No, I'm just
good. So long as you don't hurt anyone doing that, that's a beautiful thing to do.
kidding. Oh gosh. Well,
Yeah.
we've neared the end, but before we go,
Okay.
I guess my last question would be this. How would you advise someone who desires to do some of the things that you are currently doing, whether it be um, becoming interested in Rastafari culture or exploring the world of robotics and studying that, um, just sort of changing their diet, becoming a vegetarian, whatever those things are? How would
Yeah.
you advise someone to approach some of these things? Because you're doing a lot of things all at once. And
Mm,
if someone comes to you and they say, "Hey, how do I do this?" What is your
yeah.
response?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't perceive myself as a perfect individual. Yes, I may have the philosophy behind
Mhm.
all actions I commit, but trust me, I have friends that are not like me, I have friends that don't understand, this dialogue, hence why I don't really um I don't really say that much, but when the chance does present itself for me to speak about God and the idea of living, then yes, I do that. But to advise others, really, I would say to laugh and listen. My advice for life would be to laugh and listen. Um, it's that easy, just be good and be happy and laugh and listen. I feel like that's the best way to express, what it is that I could say as an advice. Just laugh and listen,
My
rejoice.
my problem is I laugh so loud.
Doesn't matter then,
I'd be like,
because
say that
that's
again. Hold on, wait,
you
say
know,
that again. Say that again. Because I was laughing so
that that's a good thing. Like that is beautiful, brother. Don't
loud.
even limit that. Even if it's the loudest laugh ever. The world needs that energy. The
I'm tell
world
I'm
requires the
telling
best
you.
laugh.
I'm telling
The
what would
world.
the world without laughter? I would finish myself. I'm telling you. I'd be like,
Imagine.
this ain't it. This ain't it.
But that is the beauty of life.
Before we
Just
go,
laughing.
it's so funny too. This just popped into my head. I want to share it with you. Sometimes when I think about mortality and I think about like what's beyond this third dimension, right?
Mm.
Oftentimes I say to myself, I say self, and then myself says, I said, well, what do you feel like you would miss the most? And you know what that answer is? It's the fattest answer you ever heard. I feel like I would miss food.
Mm.
Isn't that terrible?
No, it's not. Beautiful. It's what you will miss. It's
I'm
what
like,
you will miss.
I'm like,
Beautiful.
wow. Hmm.
It's beautiful.
There's so many flavors I have yet tasted.
You know? And like really live that, like be a part of that understanding forever. Like trust me
Oh,
in the whole questions or whatever, you probably might have the best meal of your life, like
I'm
stick to that.
saying
There's nothing that must change.
that's about like when I travel and stuff. That's my favorite thing. I'm like, okay, where the
Yeah,
food at? What we trying? What we eating here?
that is beautiful. You know, I love food as well. I have all these different vegetarian dishes that I sometimes cook for myself, and yeah, that's a beautiful process. It's vital.
I love it. I love it.
I love,
Well, I have enjoyed talking to you today. Honestly, it's been inspiring to say the least. I don't know if you could tell. Well, of course, if you're listening, you can't tell. But like as you've been just like going through the different topics of discussion, I've just been smiling the whole time because I'm just like, this is so refreshing. I enjoy being able to sit
thank
down, talk to another brother, and they're just like, yo, I gotta tell you about this thing that I'm into that not a lot of us are into. And then it's like their excitement and their drive and what they are enthralled with. All that energy seeps over to me, and I just can't help but sit here and just like gawk and say, "What? What?" And that's the feeling I've
you.
had this whole time talking to you. I am glad that we crossed paths in the way that we did. I don't think any of those instances are ever uh
Coincidences.
coincidences. I don't believe in that, and I try not to take them for granted. When it comes to what I call bridge building, I think that we have to start in these spaces, right? We have to find those things that intrigue us the most and share them with each other because you just never know what you're gonna spark. And again, I do appreciate you taking the time because I know we're like 6 hours difference right now. My
Yeah,
day is still just starting, bro.
I
But you are in
know.
the thick of it.
Yeah,
So
thank you so much for having me.
before we go here, if you would let the people know where they can find you, keep up with what you're doing, support you, and all the things. And of course, I will include this in the show notes in the description on the YouTube channel. But let them know people where they can find you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What you
Yeah,
got
okay.
going
So
on?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on I actually just started a podcast with my boys. We just really be having a lot of fun there. So yeah, that's called the Anything Goes podcast. It's actually on YouTube. Interesting topics are always had there. Um, what else? I'm on Twitter, but my Twitter is very like discreet. Like I don't allow anyone. Like it's actually private. I don't know. It's just
Can I have it?
yeah, of course. Well, uh, we'll we'll discuss it because it's a scary place. That is really where everything is wrong. That's the raw data that I get. But yeah. So Peace Be World on Instagram. Um, and then yeah, on YouTube you can just type Anything Goes podcast. Blvckball Network. Shout out my boy Enzo. Shout out Huncho. Love you guys. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that was good enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And as always, I am TeaRon. You can find me on Instagram at TeaRon World, on TikTok at TeaRon with 2 underscores on the end. And of course, you can find Ubiquitous Blacks all over the social medias at Ubiquitous Blacks. If you want to reach out to us, be a guest, have advice, have recommendations, ways to just share the love, all those things, you can email us, ubiquitousblacks@gmail.com. And also, as a reminder, if you are listening to this as an audio medium, check the show notes, the description there, and you will see a place where you can actually send us a text. Send a text directly to me. I'll get it. I'll respond to it if you have a question about today's episode, questions for our guests here today, et cetera, et cetera. And then also, if you scroll down even further, there's another link that lets you know how you can support the show. This is definitely a monetary donation of sorts. Anything helps, and anything that you donate to the show will help to improve what we're doing here on the Ubiquitous Blacks platform. And it's just like, just sowing your seed right into to me. If you are watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment for myself and our guest today. And since we're still on the monetary thing, there's this button on there. It's a heart and it has a little $sign in there. That's a super thanks. You can click that. You can also donate to us that way. Support us in any way that you can if you enjoy this conversation. And Kagiso.
Yeah, you actually almost got right there.
I'm not
You
getting
actually
it. I'm I'm not getting it. It's that
almost did.
ugh,
It's,
it's
it's
something
worth it.
there. My tongue won't do it. Damn it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Thank you so much, Ubiquitous Blacks. You were beautiful. Keep going, and please greet all your team members. Tiara and all. What you guys are doing is great, and please keep inspiring us with beautiful Black Nigerian and African movies. The reviews are beautiful, man. I do tap into that, man, and that is
Thank you.
just an exceptional thing. That is an art, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot, bro. It's a
it's
lot.
beautiful.
Well, whether you are black in China,
All black in Zion.
remember we are black everywhere.
That was good. I
Black
loved
as
it.
fuck.